If you wake up in the morning and you focus upon something that feels good to you, and you ponder it long enough that you begin to feel a little enthusiasm for it, then it's unlikely that something's going to bump you off that path easily. And by the time you're at day 30, it would take something, a really deep issue, a really hot spot, in order to dislodge you from your positive momentum. But it's a little awkward for us to talk about that 30-day momentum if you're just now beginning it, because in the beginning, it feels harder to do. After you've done it for a while, it feels easy to do, and you ask yourself, I don't know why I wasn't doing this before. This might help. Once you find yourself on that high-flying disc, and you sustain it for a little while, like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 minutes, the first thing that makes you know, in fact, let's call it a manifestation. The first manifestation that lets you know you're there is emotion. You just feel good. Emotion is a manifestation. And the second thing, and we're going to call it a manifestation too, just for sake of this understanding, this discussion, is thoughts begin to stream into your mind that match it. In other words, you start remembering things that you felt good about. You start remembering things that people have said. Esther her mind is full of poignant things that Jerry said at some point, or that her mother said at some point, or that some teacher said at some point. Once she gets on that high-flying disc, it's like every wise person things from the Bible, things that she remembers from those early days in Sunday school. In other words, all kinds of things that match that high frequency begin to flood into your mind just to support and compound this vibrational frequency. And those are the beginnings of the bigger manifestations that are coming. What you want to show yourself is that you can control the direction of your thoughts. And until you show yourself that, do you accept that you create your own reality? We'll just throw that out to you. Conceptually, most of you who are coming to these gatherings would say yes. So then we say, if you accept that you create your own reality, do you accept that you do it through your vibrational offering? And if you accept that you create your own reality and that you do it through your vibrational offering, then you must understand that your vibrational offering is what you're thinking about. And the only way that you're going to know how you're doing is by caring about how you feel. So if you wake up with the intention of feeling as good as you can feel for as long as you can feel it, some of you want to get out and take a walk. There's a really good reason that you want to do that. You've found that you feel better when you do that. You found that your body likes that. You feel that you're more lighthearted and you feel more upliftment. In other words, you gravitate naturally toward the things that feel good. Just gravitate toward the things that feel good on purpose for a little while. Pamper yourself. Pamper yourself with a good night's sleep. Pamper yourself with thoughts that feel good. Pamper yourself with deep breathing. Pamper yourself with plenty of water. Pamper yourself with getting outside and moving your body. Pamper yourself into alignment with who you really are, and then face your day. Then think about the things that the world is dealing with, and notice how different thoughts are coming to you from that vibrational vantage point than from that complaining, don't want to get out of bed vibrational vantage point that you may have been experiencing. So, if you accept that you are the creator of your own reality, and that the reason that you are the creator of your own reality is because you're offering a vibration. And if you are now acknowledging that you have the ability to control the vibration that you're offering, now you are invincible. Now there is nothing that you cannot be or do or have. Here's an easier way to look at it. So let's say that there are things wanted and unwanted, yeah? And that there is a path of least resistance to things wanted and unwanted, because you've practiced it into being. If you've thought about what you want, you've created a path of least resistance, an easy path to what you want. And if you've thought about what you don't want, you've created a path of least resistance to what you don't want. So the path of least resistance toward what you don't want is the introducing of resistance to what you do want. It might even be easier for you to just say, what path am I on? And you can tell by the way you feel. Because there are endless tributaries. Sometimes you want a fast ride, sometimes you want a slow and savory ride, but one thing's sure, you want to move toward what you want all the time. And when you feel negative emotion, you've slowed what you do want down, and if you keep it up, you're on a path towards something you don't want. So yeah, we think it would be really a good idea to care about those paths and that momentum. The best thing that happens by deliberately deciding to get on this high-flying disc and accomplishing it and doing it repeatedly for a few days is that then as the manifestations that match that frequency show up in your experience, you make the correlation between them. You feel your part, your deliberate part in the achieving of that particular rendezvous, with that particular situation, with that particular conversation, with that particular outcome. In the early days when Esther was just coming to understand deliberate creation, and we were talking a lot about focus and thinking on purpose, and something wonderful would happen and Esther would announce so happily and loudly, I did that. I did that. I did that with my focus. And in the same way, when something unwanted would happen, she'd say, a little quieter, I did that too. Because there's something wonderful about recognizing how you're feeling and therefore knowing what disc you're on, so it's not a shock or a surprise at who you're rendezvousing with or what you're rendezvousing with. And it's the first step really in owning that you are the creator of your own reality. Because until you stop blaming that one for the way he made you feel or that one for the way something evolved, and you take responsibility for your vibrational frequency, then you don't have a chance. You can't be a deliberate creator as long as you're giving one other person the credit or the blame for the good or bad things that are happening to you.